It was a humid summer 20 years ago. When Natsuko fled back to this town, she felt the warmth of her newborn son, Tsuyoshi, on her back, and held the sweaty hand of her 3-year-old daughter, Aki, while the wound on her forehead that had 10 stitches throbbed. Unable to bear the violence of her alcoholic husband, who could not let go of her child, Natsuko ran away with her child. And the future was nothing but darkness for her. Natsuko comforted the crying Tsuyoshi and headed for the old temple, where she had played as a child. She suddenly looked back and saw Aki, who she had left with her parents, clutching the hem of her mother's kimono with her small hands and looking up anxiously with round eyes. The 3-year-old's heart was also frightened of the same darkness as her mother's. Natsuko's heart felt like it was going to burst. "Natsuko, you have 2 children." With sobs, she spilled out the truth about the wound that even her parents had never touched. The tears wouldn't stop, and Aki stroked her mother's cheek with her small hand. On the dimly lit tatami mats of the main hall, Natsuko cried and complained about the fear and helplessness of raising children. The head priest closed his eyes and listened quietly, then said, "Come on," and took her to the back of the hall. There was a picture cracked on the moss-covered wall, drawn in magic marker. It was of a monk bound to a chubby woman. It was drawn by 6-year-old Natsuko, laughing and teasing the head priest after his affair was discovered. "Do you remember this painting? You were a genius. Bet on painting. Draw with all the innocence of a child." The words of the head priest lit a small light in Natsuko's frozen heart. She picked up her paintbrush, half believing it. When she started drawing in her spare time from her part-time job, her husband's violence and the pressure of her life melted away. The paintings she displayed in the temple captured the hearts of worshippers, and they asked her to sell them. She continued to receive requests from galleries and awards at exhibitions, and Natsuko's name grew even more brilliant. She quit her part-time job and opened an art class, and her guidance helped children's talents to blossom, and her success rate in getting into art colleges was astonishing. 20 years later, Natsuko became a painter, with 5 art classes in the prefecture. Aki married a loving man, and Tsuyoshi grew into a young man who was passionate about American football at university. One day, she received news that her husband was in critical condition. She hadn't heard from him for 20 years. Natsuko took Aki and Tsuyoshi to the hospital to face the past. Her husband, who was in bed, was as thin as a skeleton and muttered in a husky voice, "Natsuko, you hate me, don't you?" Natsuko shook her head quietly. "I don't hate you. Because of you, I found the painting and my children. Now, I'm grateful." Tears flowed down her husband's wrinkled face, and he muttered, "I'm sorry. Make my children happy," and quietly closed his eyes. That night, Natsuko looked up at the moon, with the head priest in the temple grounds. "That painting saved me," she said, and the head priest smiled gently. "You saved me." Natsuko presented her new work to the temple. It depicted smiling Aki and Tsuyoshi, and her young husband smiling gently. The wounds of the past had healed with love and forgiveness. The following spring, a student from Natsuko's class won the grand prize at a national exhibition. At the award ceremony, Aki and Tsuyoshi went up on stage and presented their mother with a bouquet of flowers. "Mom, you are our light," Aki said in a tearful voice. And Tsuyoshi embraced her and said, "I will always be proud of you." The hall was filled with emotional applause. Natsuko hugged her children tightly and shed tears. Her life, which overcame any darkness with art and love, shone with eternal light.